welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Crystal Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course, we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show, the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth. We are so glad that you guys decided to make us a part of your day.
We also have joining us our AMC Movie News entertainment correspondent, Miss Erin Darling.
Hello and good morning, Internet.
And we also have joining us our AMC Movie News production manager, Mr. Dennis Sen.
Hey guys, go see Anchorman 2 and The Hobbit, Desolation and Smog. I saw them both. They're both great.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Dennis and I and Team Amazian recorded AMC spoilers review of Anchorman 2 last night. I'll put that up online this afternoon. But listen, before we get to topic number one, I want to remind you guys, mark it on your calendar, January 2nd. AMC Movie Talk is doing a 24-hour live streaming AMC Movie Talk marathon, if you will, to raise money for the Red Cross efforts in the Philippines for typhoon disaster relief. If you guys haven't heard about it, last month the most powerful typhoon in recorded history hit that country, and the devastation was just insane, and there's a really huge need there. So we have started a fundraising campaign. We're going to use that marathon to raise money, but you can donate now. You can use your internet nerdy powers for good and donate now. Right below me here, you'll see a URL at www.crowdrise.com/AMC Movie News Philippines. And we'll put a link as well in the description of the video. You can go to that site, and when you go to that page, you'll see a big Donate Now button, and you can donate $10, $50, whatever you can, because the money you donate will do an awful lot of good. So thank you so much for supporting such a good cause.
All right, exciting news. According to multiple sources, actor Paul Rudd is your new Ant-Man. The hero set to launch the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Phase 3 in AMC theaters everywhere on May 1st, 2015. Several weeks ago, we shared that Rudd was one of the final actors being looked at for the role, and that now seems to be official. John, what do you think about Rudd being Ant-Man?
Yeah, it does look like it's official. Now, Paul Rudd hasn't, as far as I know, hasn't come out and said, hey guys, I'm thrilled to be Ant-Man yet, but this is coming from heavy sites like Variety, Hollywood Reporter, things like that. So it looks fairly reliable and solid. You know, it's funny because it was just about maybe a month or two ago that we talked about that it looked like Paul Rudd could be one of the guys. And I said I love the idea of Paul Rudd being Ant-Man. It was just yesterday, actually, on this very show, that I said, you know what, I think we're about to get a whole bunch of Ant-Man news. I guarantee by January 15th, we're going to know who Ant-Man is. And then like 4 hours later, which is kind of cool. I was only off by like 3.5 weeks. Anyway, so I got to tell you, love it. I absolutely love this casting. Is Paul Rudd the first name that would have popped into my head were I, Kevin Feige and I had to make this decision? Probably not. But once we heard that his name was in the mix a few months ago, I was like, wait a minute, that's actually a really good name. Especially if we're looking for somebody who can bring the comedic sensibilities that like a Robert Downey Jr. brings and can maybe even surpass him. That's Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is one of the single greatest comedic actors in film today. He's in a what's what of the greatest comedies of all time list. He's in there, especially in the last 10 years or so. This guy is amazing. I'm especially really excited because we just came out of seeing Anchorman 2 the other night. I think this is a terrific choice. He's a solid, great actor, great comedic sensibilities. I think he's going to be a terrific Hank Pym, and according to the report, he is going to be Hank Pym. I know some people were wondering which character he would be. I'm excited for it. I think this is an inspired choice. I think this is really good news for the franchise. So, yeah, I'm stoked. Erin, what do you think?
I think it's really interesting. Initially, I wasn't that stoked about the idea of Paul Rudd coming on as Ant-Man because I love JGL, and he was in the name for every Marvel character that was being cast.
Every DC.
I know.
Remember, he was going to be the next Batman,
right?
Too? Like, it was crazy.
He had a great year in Rumorsville, USA. But now that JGL is in the DC Cinematic Universe, the Sandman news that came out earlier this week, I think this makes a lot of sense. Paul Rudd is an amazing addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's funny, he's talented, he has a built-in fan base, he's so well liked. I think it's a no-brainer, and I'm excited to see it now.
Dennis?
I think it's a good fit, especially because of who's directing. You have Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
And I think his sensibilities with his comedic timing mixed with Paul Rudd, I think that's a very interesting mix that I think will especially for something like Ant-Man. You know, Ant-Man's something you can't take too seriously because it's a guy that shrinks down
And talks to ants.
Yes.
And talks to insects.
So I think it's a good fit. And yeah, with JGL, I guess he was also in the running for Ant-Man, and as soon as he signed up for Sandman, I guess negotiations with Paul Rudd started to heat up.
See, I still am totally of the belief that Paul Rudd was cast as Ant-Man 2.5 months ago.
Okay.
I really do firmly believe that. But I do also believe JGL at some point was probably in the running for this. I just think, look, who do I think is the better actor overall, Paul Rudd or Joseph Gordon-Levitt? I'm probably slightly going to give the edge to Joseph Gordon-Levitt in that. I do. But I honestly see Hank Pym and Paul Rudd as a slightly better fit. I just think this is an incredible fit. I'm excited for it. So, and you know what? Seriously, I'm glad you brought up the whole point about Edgar Wright, because that's a really good point. When you look at a movie like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I thought was perfect for a Marvel feel, especially with the universe they got now. If he can bring some of that over, blending the action and the comedy and the quick, witty dialogue, which Marvel loves, I think this is a home run. All right, what's next?
I just have to say that as someone who's not a comic fan necessarily, I was not excited for Ant-Man at all, and Paul Rudd now being attached is what's making me want to see the film.
And that's the biggest deal, right?
Yeah.
The biggest part about this is not only is he crazy talented, super funny, he's going to be a great fit, but he's also a name that's going to get people who, like Chris and Lee, who don't read a comic every single day. Now they're excited about Ant-Man. This is a brilliant move. Brilliant.
Brilliant. All right, according to Variety magazine, Warner Brothers is now negotiating with multiple Academy Award nominee Joaquin Phoenix, possibly for the role of Lex Luthor in the upcoming Batman-Superman movie. Phoenix received his first Oscar nomination for his role in Gladiator, and later received 2 other nominations of Walk the Line and The Master. The Batman-Superman film is set to hit AMC theaters on July 17th, 2015. Dennis, what would you think of Joaquin Phoenix as Lex Luthor?
I really like Joaquin Phoenix as an actor, and I thought he did a great job as the villain in Gladiator, but I don't see quite the perfect fit that maybe some other people see with this, because he's supposed to play, you know, a sophisticated billionaire. He doesn't really give off that vibe at all. I mean, he kind of gives like a more man-childish vibe, his voice, his mannerisms. So while I think, can he do a good job? Yes. And he probably will if this is true. He wasn't my first choice, and I don't see it for this role.
Aaron?
I love this idea. I love Joaquin Phoenix. He's one of my favorite actors. He's completely talented. He does dark and brooding and edgy really, really well. But I have to say, what's going on, you guys? Zack Snyder, is this your homage to Batman and Robin? I mean, can we just call it Justice League? Let's just call it Justice League. What is going on with all of these villains and all these characters?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, this is really the first villain's name we've seen pop up. And Lex Luthor needs to be in any universe that Superman's in. He doesn't have to be the main villain in the first one, or necessarily even the second one. And I got a feeling that with this next Batman vs. Superman film, I believe whoever Jason Momoa is playing and the Wonder Woman character, I believe all these, speculation, I have nothing to back this up with, but I believe these are all going to be very small parts that are just foreshadowing and building into future films.
I hope so.
Yeah, I really think they're going to focus on these guys, but it is never, I've said this before, it's never a mistake to recruit talent. Joaquin Phoenix, 3 Academy Award nominations, and honestly, if it wasn't for Russell Crowe and the performance he gave in The Gladiator, which won Crowe the Academy Award, I think Phoenix's name would have been better, because his portrayal as the antagonist in Gladiator was creepy as hell. It was so good and so amazing, and he's consistently, I mean, he's a weird dude, but he's so talented. He's so good when he's in a movie. So this is the thing, I'm with you, Dennis. I would not have put this together. But I remember when you and I did an editorial video a few months ago when we were talking about who we could see as Lex Luthor. You and I were both kind of thinking out of the box. Like, we were looking at a lot younger guys' names and things like that. And you know what? A guy this talented, would it have been my first choice? No. But I like it. So we'll see where things go from here. All right, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee's got a bunch of other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And then Dennis, Aaron, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Aaron, what do we got?
Chris Lee, Chrisley would have. Totally fine.
It's almost Christmas. Give me a break. It's almost Christmas.
Staying on the subject of Batman versus Superman, it's being reported that Academy Award-winning screenwriter Chris Terrio has been brought in by Warner Brothers to do a script rewrite on the Man of Steel follow-up. Terrio won his Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar last year for Argo. The current script for Batman versus Superman was written by David Goyer. John Byer Terrio being brought on for Batman versus Superman's rewrite.
I love it. I buy this. I remember, everybody knows how much I loved Argo. I thought that was a brilliantly written, brilliantly directed, brilliantly acted film on many, many levels. And to bring in a guy like that, who's coming off of a film like Argo, and the dialogue in Argo was so good and so sharp and so crisp. And look, a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, so they're taking David Goyer's script and ripping it up and throwing it? No. This is very common for, when they're getting ready and they're in the final stages to bring in another writer, do a touch-up, do kind of a rewrite and some stuff. And look, and it's not a coincidence here that Ben Affleck is suddenly in as Batman, and he just happened to bring along his writer from Argo to touch up some of the stuff. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. And overall, I think this is a really good thing, bringing in this kind of talent. So for me, it's a buy. Aaron?
It's a buy for me too. I trust him as a screenwriter. I think he did a great job with Argo. He has an Oscar to prove that he's talented.
Yeah.
However, let's just hope for some better dialogue than Man of Steel. That was one of my biggest complaints of that movie, even though I did love it as a whole. Argo had great dialogue, so I kind of have my hopes up a little bit here, but overall, yes, definitely a buy.
Dennis?
I buy it as well. I think bringing on an Oscar-winning writer to this definitely will help it. What's interesting, though, is if you look at Terrio's resume before Argo, there isn't much of one.
There.
Yeah, so he kind of went from like nowhere to Oscar winner. So.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Wolverine star Hugh Jackman is reportedly in talks to take on the villain role of Blackbeard in the upcoming Peter Pan origin story movie Pan. The role was originally offered to No Country for Old Men star Javier Bardem, who passed on the role. The report claims Jackman has been looking for a straight villain role, and Pan gives him that vehicle. Aaron Byer Hugh Jackman joining Pan.
This is so not the type of role that I would want to see Hugh Jackman in. Ideally, he's just so loved, and it's so hard to look at this guy as a villain. Just look at his face. That's not a villain. That's not a villain.
I just want to squeeze his cheeks
I
and
know.
kiss him on the nose.
However, I would never doubt the talent on his nose, just right there. I would never doubt his talent or his ability to knock this out of the park. And if he's been looking for this in his career, a role similar to that, then why not? I'm definitely going to buy it. Jackman knows best.
Dennis?
I buy it. I'm not that interested in this project, but seeing Hugh Jackman take on a villain role would be very interesting, something he hasn't really done in his career. I mean, I just watched, they had Real Steel on TV yesterday, and I was watching that with my roommate, and his character is supposed to be kind of sleazy in it, and it was kind of hard to buy him as like this sleazy dad. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, he's obviously, a great actor. Hopefully he can pull off something like this.
Of course he can. Did you see Prisoners? He was the best kind of sort of bad guy ever in Prisoners. He can totally pull off that.
We need him to commit. We need a big bad guy.
See,
a real bad guy.
I'm going to buy this because I really like when I see actors, when I think about actors who have constantly always been the protagonists, suddenly taking a villain turn. I think of John Lithgow. Remember, he was always the dad in Footloose and the dad in Harry and the Hendersons and always a sweet guy. And then all of a sudden, he put out a string of films where he was like this evil, vicious villain, and I ate it up and I loved it. I am really excited to see a guy like Hugh Jackman try a role. And I think doing a villain role like a fantasy thing like Blackbeard, I think will soften the blow a little bit for fans who just want to look up at Hugh Jackman and adore him. So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt for now. So for now, for me, it's a buy.
Wedding Crashers director David Dobkin is in talks to helm a new biopic on the life of legendary Playboy founder Hugh Hefner. Both Universal Pictures has been considering the biopic for some years before passing on it until now. Warner Brothers seemed poised to bring it to the big screen. Dennis, buy or sell a Hugh Hefner biopic?
Oh, I definitely buy it. I think a lot of people, including myself, want to see the story of Hugh Hefner and how he built the Playboy empire. The only thing is I hope that they keep it light-hearted and funny, which I think they are if they're bringing the Wedding Crashers director in. We don't want to see another People versus Larry Flint.
Right, yeah. Aaron?
I agree with you, actually. I'm really excited for this project. His life is screenplay fodder. This is going to be so fascinating. Love him or hate him, agree with him or not. I think that this would be an amazing movie to watch, and I love the fact that Dobkin is being brought on board to bring some of those comedic elements and execute them on the big screen. But I hope, it is my personal wish, that they really focus on the areas of his life that, you know, he was really revolutionary and a champion of freedom of speech, and I really hope that that's what's focused on in this biopic, rather than the playboy of now. Not that there's anything wrong with it, I just think that's the more interesting late 70s, 60s kind of period of time is the most interesting.
You know, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I would have sold this just as another biopic about a guy who just created Playboy. Not that I'm not fascinated by Hugh Hefner, I am. But then I watched this documentary on the life of Hugh Hefner a few years ago, and what I didn't realize, and I think a lot of people don't realize, was back in that era, he was one of the forefront champions of civil rights. I mean, he was one of the first guys to put a black model on the cover of his magazine, like 30 years before Sports Illustrated finally did it. He was one of the first guys to, his lead article writer was a black journalist, when nobody else would do stuff like that. He had Playboy clubs popping up all over America, and I remember they had this thing, you could buy a Playboy key. If you had that Playboy key, it was a status symbol, it could get you into any Playboy club in the world. And when several southern states were turning away black members who had that, Hugh Hefner said, pulled their franchise. You know, that was the type of guy he is, and it was fascinating learning this about him, watching this documentary. And I really hope that we see a little bit of that civil rights activist Hugh Hefner in this movie. I'll be really excited if they do. Okay, what's next?
According to reports, 20th Century Fox is pursuing actor Brad Pitt to reteam with his Interview with a Vampire co-star Tom Cruise for Cruise's upcoming film Go Like Hell, an adaptation of A.J. Bame's book Go Like Hell, Ford, Ferrari, and their battle for speed and glory at Le Mans. Interestingly enough, Pitt was once attached to be in the film back in 2009 when it was going to be directed by Michael Mann. Go Like Hell is now set to be directed by Cruise's Oblivion Helmer, Joseph Kosinski. John, buy or sell Pitt and Cruise reteaming for Go Like Hell?
I want to buy it because I do want to see Pitt and Cruise together again. These two guys are the poster childs for we're underestimated as actors because we've been the pretty boys for decades. They're really good actors, but I don't want to see another period piece car racing movie. I'm over it. I'm tired of it. I'm done. So for me, for now, I mean, watch this. The trailer's going to come out and I'm going to eat it up. But for now, for me, it's a sell. Dennis?
Yeah, I'm going to sell it as well. I'm just not interested in the project. I like Brad Pitt and I like Tom Cruise, and I think it's cool that they're reteaming. And then you have Kosinski, who did Tron and Oblivion, which I thought were okay movies, but I'm just not.
So I'm with you. For me, the key word is okay.
Yeah, and so I'm not really excited. And yeah, I saw Rush. I liked it, but it's just not a area that I'm like extremely interested in.
Aaron?
I'm going to sell it as well, and it makes me sad because I actually really do like Kosinski, and I would love to see this team up happen, this reunion again on the big screen. However, Kosinski, considering his background, he's a relatively new director. He loves sci-fi, he loves high concept. This really doesn't seem like it's a good fit for him, although I do like what I've seen of him in the past. I just don't see this really working. It's so hard to execute a movie like that well. I think it's only been done well once, and that was Rush.
You know what's funny? Now looking at this picture here, make this movie, but say that the two race car owner drivers are the same characters on Interview with a Vampire. Now you've got box office gold. Okay, hey, listen, before we get to the final buy and sell here, I want to let you guys know we're going to end our show taking some questions from the chat board. So for those of you guys who are watching us live, you can start firing in some questions on the chat board. Please don't just copy and paste your question in 10 times. That's an automatic way for me to ignore it. But you can start putting in some questions in there, and we'll do some rapid fire stuff there when we get to the end. Until then, Chrisley, what else we got?
That's my face that you all just sold that. Days of Thunder, Tom Cruise, one of his best movies. I can't believe you're selling that he's going to do another one that could be just as good. My heart's broken. All right, 20th Century Fox has released its first full trailer for the upcoming How to Train Your Dragon 2, set to hit AMC theaters everywhere on June 13th. The thrilling second chapter of the epic How to Train Your Dragon trilogy returns to the fantastical world of the heroic Viking Hiccup and his faithful dragon Toothless. The inseparable duo must protect the peace and save the future of men and dragons from the power-hungry Drago. Aaron, buy or sell this new trailer for How to Train Your Dragon 2.
This is definitely a buy for me. I loved the first installment. I loved Toothless. I thought the movie was beautiful. It was shot amazing. All the flying sequences were so fun to watch. You felt like you were there. Big fan of Jay Baruchel, so definitely a buy for me.
Dennis?
I buy it, but I'm not as enthusiastic as you are. I liked the first one, but I didn't love it like everyone else did. And I thought this trailer was good. It wasn't great. But I'll see it. I'm just more enthusiastic about other animated franchises, like something like Wreck-It Ralph. Sell me a Wreck-It Ralph 2, and I'll be super excited.
That was a good one.
I love How to Train Your Dragon. And I've been so excited about seeing the first trailer for it. And I gotta tell you, it didn't do anything for me. It's not that it's a bad trailer. I'm just saying I watch it. It looks beautiful. I mean, the animation's great. I love seeing Toothless. They have Toothless act like a puppy, and I'm a dog owner, so that's always appealing to me. But overall, it just didn't do anything for me. It's like, oh, he finds this older warrior. Oh, it's his mom. Okay, yeah, been there, done that. I look. It hasn't killed my enthusiasm for the movie. I'm still really excited about seeing the movie, but this trailer in and of itself has not really done anything for me. All right, folks, well, that's all the buy and sell issues we have right now. But like I said, we've got like 1,000 of you guys in the live chat board right now talking to us, firing in questions. So we are going to get to some of your questions right now. And just the chat board is rolling like nuts, so be patient with me here. So we're going to get to the first one. The first question we got in on the chat board, Cole Miller is asking, John, last year I read that Daniel Craig's contract was only for 2 more Bond films. What do you think may be the next, you probably meant who do you think will be the next 007? We speculated about that a number of times, about who could be the next 007, and the reality is we're still 5 years away. I mean, he's got 2 more films. We already know who's doing the next one, and then he's got 1 more to go after that. So we are really far way away from that. I think it's way too early to even begin to speculate about who could be the next Bond. We don't know who's going to be hot next year, let alone who's going to be hot 5 years from now. So I think it's a little bit early. Do you guys have any early picks?
I have an idea.
Okay.
5 years down the road.
All right.
Stay with me, guys. Green Arrow. Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell, I think, could be a good Bond in a couple of years. Let him age a little bit. Yeah, mature as an actor. His physicality is there. He's great in action. He can do a role like that. I think put him in a tux, give him a martini, James Bond.
Dennis?
I'm still going to go with Idris Elba. I think he should do it. But who knows? Daniel Craig may re-up again if he wants.
If he wants. I mean, look how old Sean Connery played Bond till, Roger Moore. I mean, it is possible. Ricky Gonzalez writes, can Batman vs. Superman not follow the comics and have Superman win the fight against Batman? Batman is my favorite of all time, but the way the universe is set up, it will be hard to have Batman win this fight. Go Batman. Yeah, we've kind of talked about this before, too. Look, in the comic book world, number one, the god of all superheroes is Superman. There's no doubting that. But unless he's fighting anybody short of Jesus, Batman wins. Batman always wins. He fights Darkseid, he wins. He fights Superman, he wins. Somehow, some way, in this weird comic book universe, Batman always wins. And so, in the movie universe, that does feel a little bit more grounded in reality. They're going to have to come up with something. I mean, Dennis and I have talked about this a lot. They got to come up with some kind of device to make it believable that Batman can have a fight with Superman. Now, whether it's kryptonite-laced armor or whether it's some other weird thing that Batman has to figure out to do, but I don't see anybody definitively winning. It's probably going to be more like a draw. That's the way they're going to go with this for sure. But they got to come up with a device because obviously you can't just have Superman, Batman, throw them in the octagon and expect the fight to last more than half a second. I mean, obviously they're going to have to come up with something. Michael Dalt writes, question: do you think a Marvel Civil War with the current Marvel cinematic characters would make a good movie? No, because the current Marvel characters are already the Avengers. There is nobody else other than the Avengers for the current Marvel characters. My belief is firmly you can't do a Civil War movie without, and for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Civil War is a Marvel story arc where the government's basically passed this law that all superheroes have to reveal their identities. And so superheroes then become split. Some who believe they should follow and obey the government rule, and superheroes, and I believe they're led by Tony Stark. And then you had the other superheroes who want to fight against that, led by Captain America. And so you got all the Marvel superheroes in this Civil War against each other. And I firmly believe you cannot, I've said this before, I'll say it again, you can't do a Civil War movie without the X-Men in there. You can't do a Civil War movie without the Fantastic Four. You can't do a Civil War movie without Spider-Man. And all of those characters belong to other studios, so I can't see a way in which it happens. Dennis, can you?
No, not at all. I mean, those are, pivotal characters in that storyline, so I don't see, and it's not like these studios are going to lend these characters to Marvel. Oh, yeah, people really want to see Civil War, so we'll just lend you these characters out of goodwill.
Aaron?
I want to see Civil War, but I want to see it as a last-ditch effort. Like, okay, we've exhausted all of our options, guys. What are we going to make? We have to make one more movie. Civil War. But same thing, I don't know how they're going to deal with the rights of all the characters, but personally, it is something I would want to see.
Sure, I mean, I think all of us would love to see it. Okay, so Alex Clinton writes in, I heard that Sean Connery was almost cast as Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. How do you think this could have turned out in hindsight? Well, it's not that he was almost cast in Lord of the Rings. He was offered Lord of the Rings. He was offered to play Gandalf, and he didn't quite get it. He thought it was silly. He didn't think it would work. And I think by that time, Sean Connery, something really bad happened to Sean Connery. And that really bad thing was called The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which Connery put a lot of his heart and soul into, had a terrible time making it, hated the director. The movie got panned. I actually worked on that movie. And it was just awful, and it turned out terrible, and it was a devastating thing to him. And after that, I think that was the last time we've ever seen him on the screen. And he de facto retired after that, although he didn't officially retire. Anyway, he was offered that. He would have been a great Gandalf. It's hard now to sit back and picture Gandalf as anything but Magneto. I mean, Ian McKellen is Gandalf, but honestly, had fate been a little bit different, I think Sean Connery would have done magnificent as Gandalf. I don't know if as good or a little bit better or maybe not quite as good as Ian McKellen did, but Sean Connery would have been a great Gandalf. I have no doubt about it. Would have been classic. Do you think it would have turned out any differently, you guys?
I think he would have been fine, but the interesting thing about that offer is that he was offered points on it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like, oh, you missed out on a great role. He missed out on a lot of money. He left a lot of money on the table.
Awful lot of money. Aaron?
I don't know. I feel like there's two sides of Gandalf, and I feel like Sean Connery, I don't know if he fulfills both of those sides to me, personally. It's hard for me to imagine anyone else in that role other than the amazing Ian McKellen.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, let's see here. Matt Terrell writes, which film do you think will end up as the highest grossing film of 2013? Will it stay as Iron Man 3 or change? Possibly The Hobbit 2? No, I think we've pretty much established The Hobbit 2 is not going to break the mark that Iron Man 3 set for the year. Iron Man 3 is absolutely going to finish as the #1 box office film of the year. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, my chat board is like rolling like crazy. Okay, this one here is, the Videron is asking, hey guys, what villain do you think they should use for the Justice League movie? Well, I mean, it could very well just be Batman versus Superman. They could be each other's foils and introduce us to Lex Luthor. I don't think, once again, this is just speculating, I don't think we're going to see a Darkseid show up. I don't think we're going to see Doomsday show up. I don't think we're going to see Brainiac show up. I don't think the Joker's going to show up. I don't know that we're going to have a real strong villain in the film, other than maybe just somebody to be introduced like a Lex Luthor. Because, like I said, I want the focus of this movie to be on Batman versus Superman. That's what I want it to be. But, Aaron, how could you see it play out? Could you see another villain kind of fit in this?
I have so many hesitations with this movie and where this is all going. It's so hard for me to answer that question because I have villains that I like and villains I would love to see, Lex Luthor being one of them, but I'm also a big fan of Brainiac, who I would love to see at some point. I'm just not sure where, especially considering how we're introducing these characters and they're going to be in this movie and then possibly in Justice League. I'm just not exactly sure what the overarching plan is that they're trying to establish here, but those are villains that I would love to see eventually. I'm just not sure in what capacity.
I don't think they need to have like a major villain, but introducing Lex Luthor would be nice, and maybe doing hints of either like a Doomsday or a Darkseid, just hinting at, oh, this is what's upcoming for Justice League would be nice.
All right, we're just going to take a couple more here really quick because we're just about out of time. Siding Ton writes, any news on Jackman and X-Men 2016? We touched on this last week, I think. Hugh Jackman has said he's only committed Well, actually, he's not committed for anything. He has finished shooting X-Men: Days of Future Past. He is interested in doing the next Wolverine film because they are making another Wolverine film with or without Jackman. They want Jackman, but Jackman said he's got to wait to see the script, and he said the script's got to be really good for me to do it. So until he makes a decision on that, we won't know. If he doesn't come back for the next Wolverine film, he is obviously not coming back for X-Men Apocalypse in 2016. So we're just waiting for Jackman to read the script and then make a decision. And the last question today comes to us from Ned Stark, who writes, my favorite question in the world. Hey, John, I have your absolute favorite question. Was Joseph Gordon-Levitt Robin? Just had to stick it to me. For those of you who haven't watched the show for a long time, no, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was not Robin in The Dark Knight Rises. All right, that'll do it for us for the show today as I close up my laptop. You know, guys, just one more quick time. Help us out with this fundraiser thing that we're doing. We're not raising money so we can make some vanity project of ourselves. We're raising money because there are people right now in the Philippines who are hit with just the worst typhoon in recorded history, and there are a lot of people there who really need our help. I encourage you to jump on YouTube and search for Philippines typhoon damage. And there's images you'll see there will just break your heart. And so we want to encourage you, go over to our fundraising page, crowdrise.com/AMC Movie News Philippines, and hit the donate now button and donate a couple bucks. And you know what? I think for tomorrow's show, I got a feeling, because we're going into the Christmas holidays. By the way, tomorrow is our last AMC Movie Talk of the year, just to make sure you guys know about that. Going into the holidays, I have a feeling we're really not going to have a lot of movie news tomorrow. So I think tomorrow we're just going to have like an all chat board, all mailbag episode of AMC Movie Talk tomorrow. And if I can convince the studio guys to hang around, we'll do a 3-hour episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We will not do a 3-hour, but maybe we'll
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Maybe we'll go a little bit overtime tomorrow and have a little bit of a few minutes longer show tomorrow. And just sit back, relax, have some fun. Schnepp and I will probably get drunk. Maybe I can convince Dennis to come in tomorrow. I don't know. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank those sitting at the table with me. First of all, our entertainment correspondent, Miss Erin Darling. Erin, where can people find you online?
Twitter, Erin A. Darling, Facebook, Erin Darling fan page, and YouTube, Erin Ashley D. I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in this year. Thanks for your love, your support, the views, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I may drop in if you guys are all getting drunk tomorrow, so keep me updated on that plan.
Let's see if we can get everybody who's in town in. We'll sit around, we'll just be in our pajamas, like drinking. Okay, Dennis, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero and on YouTube, ThinkHero Pro.
Our lovely host, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Chrisley and on Tumblr, The Movie Chick.
Did you see that I didn't call you Erin?
I like that. Thank you.
And you can find me on all the various social media networks just at John Campea. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you tomorrow. Please join us again live at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for our final AMC Movie Talk of the calendar year. We should have some fun. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name is John Campea for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.